Happy New Year, everyone. Here are some books that I've acquired over the past month. My first buys from 2017, at least some of the more notable ones. But before I get started, though, I wanted to just mention one new comic that I picked up this week, and that was Uber, Volume 2 and Issue 2. If you have read this series before, it's an alternate history whereby the superpowers acquire superheroes. Well, they breed them. And of course, the result is mayhem. I purchased a bundle of these comics at a used bookstore about a year and a half ago, and it was cheap and didn't know what I was reading, but I really enjoyed it. But what's interesting about this issue, and as I was looking through it, and it's about Hiroshima. And the writer, Kieran Gillen, always has an afterword whereby he discusses the books that he's been reading or his travels in the writing of the series. And what I found curious is something I had not seen before. And that is reference to a comic book that I've suspected over the years has influenced other comic book writers and artists and even filmmakers. And that is Miracle Man number 15 by Alan Moore and John Totleben. The book was on his mind quite a bit when he was writing this particular issue. Now, those of you who are familiar with Miracle Man number 15, this is it here, published by Eclipse, and I think it's a reprint now. This is the destruction of London. When I read this, when it came out, it was quite a shocking issue. And even to now, when I look through it, it's a piece of work. A few years ago, when I saw one of the Superman films, and there was a destruction of Metropolis, I certainly saw even some scenes that came from this comic. I don't know, intentionally, or if the people working on the film had read the comic book. But this single issue is one of my favorite comics of all time. And among Alan Moore's book, Miracle Man is my favorite by him. I've not read everything by Moore. But of what I've read, it's Miracle Man, then V for Vendetta, then Swamp Thing. Watchmen is, for me, is not up there for me. But this series is one I just think about constantly. But in any event, I thought I would mention this. And, and it's Uber issue number 2. Now to the new books I've gotten. Certainly one of the more interesting things about YouTube, and since I started watching YouTube videos about 2 years ago, and in order to be comic book related ones, was just a variety that's out there. And since I was out of comics for a long, long time, I missed out on a lot. But certainly the people that I subscribe to and that I tend to go to quite a bit always introduced me to new things. And when I saw this for 99 cents, and it was issue number 13, Optic Nerve, 14, and issue number 12, and online. All three were 99 cents, and shipping was $2.49. I ordered them because I had remembered seeing videos by Earl Grey, and I know Jared Osborne had mentioned these comics before. And I read this issue here tonight. I think this one here called Go Owls. And it's interesting, pathetic characters that are in the story. They meet at, it seems like some kind of Bible study. But the two of them just meet up, and this is basically what happens when about this unusual relationship. But I was quite surprised by how wonderful this story is. It's just really well done, and certainly the way the book is designed. And the writer is Adrian Tomani. I don't know how you pronounce his name. I watched Earl Grey's video, and I think that's how he pronounced it, but I don't know. I'm sorry, Mr. Grey, if I've saying something you didn't say. But these are really good. I'm looking forward to the other stories. This one is called, let's see, let me find the title here. A Brief History of the Art Form Known as Horticulture. And if you've not seen Earl Grey's video on this artist's video, I recommend you do. And it is issue 14. This is about killing and dying. So I'm gonna, next couple of months, I'm gonna be looking for this writer-artist's work, and it's just wonderful. And another YouTuber that I find just quite curious, and that is Comic Crack, and he's been unearthing some underground comics from the 70s. And I mean, they're quite unique books, and one of them that he had mentioned in one of his more recent videos was something called Spaced. And certainly when he showed this comic, I saw the hairstyle, and I immediately thought of Princess Leia, played by the late Carrie Fisher. Never thought I would be saying that, but. And this came out in 1974. And the artist was by someone named Jim Bukowski. And when I saw that on his video, I just had to find a copy, and I was able to secure one. And certainly the resemblances between, well, we never saw Carrie Fisher in her birthday suit, but certainly the hairstyle was there. And it's my understanding that George Lucas did read comics, and anyway, I read the stories in this comic, and they were really good. And now this is something I'm going to be looking for, and also in the coming months. And one of the interesting things is one of the last stories here is a satire on Green Lantern and Green Arrow, except here it's called Green Lantern and Green Arrow. And you have a very horny Green Arrow, where here he's picking up a prostitute, whether she likes it or not. So, and the heroes here are not, well, they're not very heroic as we understand them to be. So this is just a wonderful, wonderful book, Spaced. And in the same sort of vein as the satire here on Green Arrow and Green Lantern, by some wonderful chance, I came across these chunky books here. $10 and $10. The price is still on them. And it's The Boys, including issue number 1. So this is definitely a take on the superhero storyline, but in a very grim and funny and dark manner. And so now I already have much of the series, and not all of it. But when I saw this for $10 each, I could not pass them up. But certainly Spaced, and I think many of those underground comics that Comic Crack has been discussing in his channel certainly are in that tradition of that space comic. This is definitely the tradition of those books. Another book that I got is Electra Assassin, but this is a hardback volume that was published, I want to say, in the 2000s. It's a pricey little guy. It sold for $39.95 by Bill Sienkiewicz and Frank Miller. This one is limited to 2,000 copies. This is issue number 70. This is not the issue, I'm sorry. This is copy 702. It's signed. It's a nice book. It's very pretty. Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz's Electra Assassin is my favorite work by either artist. I read this when it came out, 86 and 87, which would be one of the last years I consistently read comic books, and shortly after that I would be moving away from them and focusing more on books and poetry. It just worked out that way. The book had tape on it though, but it's fine. But it's certainly a very strange, and in the accurate use of the word, it is quite surreal. There's nothing quite like this book. I always think about this story quite often, as I do about Alan Moore's Miracle Man. Yes, this is wonderful. Wonderful. I got this. And another series that I got was from that I did not finish reading back in '87 was The Shadow by, I think it was Andrew Helfner, and Bill Sienkiewicz's drew the first 6 issues. And so I never completed this because I stopped reading the comics for the most part. So I decided just to get them all. And now I have the early ones, but I don't have the later ones, so I just found them all and I just ordered them. This is issue number 1, issue number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think issue number 6 was the last one that Bill did. And then somebody named Baker took over. And I did like the artwork in Baker's book. This is number 9, number 10, 11. Now I mix these up, then I'm, let's see, 12, 13, 14, issue number 15, 16, this is number 18, this is issue number 19, and there is 17, and it came with 2 annuals. I got this cheap, the entire set, and now I'll finally finish it. But certainly this book was done after Electra Assassin, and I know Bill Sienkiewicz's, when he went in that direction and that sort of artwork, turned people off. But for me, that's what attracted me to him. This is a very violent book. Howard Chaykin had done a miniseries prior to this, which I enjoyed very much. And when this came out, I just gravitated to it. And certainly when The Shadow appears with Bill Sienkiewicz's, and in those eyes, those sinister, devilish eyes, basically you knew this was basically the end of the 80s. Something had happened with comics all through the early 80s, and which maybe it started in the underground in the 70s, at least in the States. It had already been there to some degree in the European market with Heavy Metal magazine. So I got all those, and I saw also this recently, and I had to pick it up. It's an Alex Ross cover of one of the many Shadow series that have come since then, and I've always enjoyed this. I don't know about this series, but in particular, but this cover is just it's just something that I'm drawn to. And this series, I don't know anything about, but I got them because they were cheap and they looked interesting. This is something called The 12 by Moscow Straczynski and Chris Weston. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So they look interesting. I read them hopefully, inevitably, at one point. And finally, I picked up these. I picked up Before the Incal by Jodorowsky and Jagentov. I have these in singles, but I saw this for $120 at a bookstore, so I picked it up. It's a wonderful series. It's a very hedonistic world where the upper class just exploit everyone around them, and the people have no sense of love. It's just entire pleasure, and reality television is the norm. And it's really well done. The art's not by Mobius, but it's still, very enjoyable book. And I picked up another copy of the Incal. It was also being sold at the store for under $20. And I already have a copy of this, but this is a 2014 edition. And it's a little bit taller than the 2013 edition for some reason. Just a little bit, and a little bit thicker, as you can see there. This is the one that I had. And the only difference really is the size, and the coloring's a little darker in one of them, and one has an afterword by some writer. But yeah, anyway, I had to pick these up. So I think that's it for 2017. There's a few other books, but I'll do those in a separate video. But for now, Happy New Year, and thank you very much for viewing, and happy reading.